back to The Private Record. This is, for those who don't know, this is the final episode of season 1 of The Private Record. We will take a short break and we'll be back shortly. But some people say save the best for last. In our case, we say save the most f***ed up for last, because this is, I would say, by far the most f***ed up story I've ever heard in my life, let alone on this show. I'm not going to say much about it, but our guest, Edward, he's really been through some serious shit. Show him some love in the comments if you don't mind. Thank you very much. Now, that being said, like I said, the episode is so up. We're only putting in this episode, this version of it on YouTube, what we are allowed to put up. It's just too much. It's too graphic. It can't live here. So what we've done is we've posted the unedited, uncensored version of the show on Patreon at patreon.com/Matt D'Elia. Oh, surprise, surprise. We have a Patreon, and it's patreon.com/Matt D'Elia. Go watch it for free. It will cost you nothing. It's just going to live there, the unedited, uncensored version. Also, we got some big announcements coming your way. Big stuff as The Private Record is winding down. I'm not going anywhere, and that is soon to pop up both on YouTube and on the Patreon I just announced, which once again is patreon.com/Matt D'Elia. If you want to be a guest on the show in the future, I should say on season 2, go to theprivaterecord.com and submit yourself now as a potential guest. In the meantime, follow us for all updates and everything like that on Instagram and TikTok at The Private Record. And of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel at The Private Record. I love you. I will always love you. And I can't wait to see you again. I'm not really going anywhere. I'll be right back in front of your eyes very, very soon. Promise you that. Thank you.
I don't know. I guess it started in like 2016.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I started this relationship with my ex, Chantel.
Okay.
And it was someone, my family and I, we knew them from church for years. And we started dating. And my brother and I, who are super close, he started to act differently after. And I'm engaged to this girl. And I can remember it. We went to Thor 2, terrible movie. But after, I asked him, why are you acting different?
Yeah.
What's up? And he told me that, when he was 8 to 10, my fiance's dad had him for about 2 years.
Holy shit, man. Oh my God.
Yes. It's crazy.
Had he told no one until he told you?
Nobody.
Oh my God, dude.
So that night was extra bad for him. Thor 2 and telling everybody.
A double dose of terrible. Thor 2 and then having to unearth that tragedy. Jeez.
Yes, it was a crazy night. But I convinced him to come over. We called my fiance was asleep.
Yeah.
And I called her mom. And we family friends for years.
Yeah.
And I called her to come over. We lived close. She came over. And my brother actually went home first there because he didn't want to be part of it.
Okay, yeah.
But I told her what he had told me. And it was just the weirdest conversation. Very strange.
Yeah.
She wanted my brother to come back, which we convinced him to come so she could ask some questions, what happened. And it was from I want to say when he was 7 to 10, 8 to 10, it was a 2-year period. My ex's dad was the bus driver at church. We were close family friends, and he would go for sleepovers. Terrible stuff.
Dude.
Well, he told me I all told her everything, and then we confronted him, the abuser. His name's Brian. And we told him we were going to call cops.
Mm-hmm.
And we did. There's a trial, it goes to jail.
Holy shit, dude. There was a whole thing. The dude's in jail.
Yes. But with it coming out and stuff, like lots of other stuff came out about stuff that happened to my fiance stuff, and I kind of went into like at that moment like savior mode, like how do I help her
Okay, yeah.
from all this abuse that she grew up in, and so like it moved quick, like ended up moving in quick, get her out of that house, but like yeah, there was a trial. He went, yeah, I think he was sentenced to like 5.5 years, served a few, came out.
Wow.
And got caught again, like I want to say it was like stuff. Throw him back in prison for breaking like parole and stuff. And then he's out now again, living in Alberta somewhere, I believe.
Bro, keep that guy in jail. Like what the fuck?
Never let them out because like found out he abused others as well. And I believe there's probably tons that never come out, like never said anything.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my God.
He was driving the bus for a church.
Yeah.
So, and I heard after all this stuff came out, like I heard that there was a camp incident in like the 80s and like the Salvation Army just covered it up, switched into a different church. Like just don't come here anymore. And that's when he ended up at our church, and like it's crazy. Crazy.
That's beyond crazy. Can I just ask one question? I'm so curious. Yep. When you first called his wife, the mother of your fiance, and told her this, how did she react?
All I said was, hey, you want to come over? Like, that's all I said. Came over, sat on the couch, and like, this is where I say it was strange, because like the way it wasn't like a shock to her. Oh. It wasn't. And that's what, like, in hindsight, now that I know everything, I'm like, oh, she knew a ton of shit, and she didn't want to act like it, and she had like, and that's what I found out about the camp stuff, and like she had known about that, and I knew she knew, and then the dad had been abusing my ex's brothers, and she knew, and all this stuff, and they just kept it hidden in that like torture house of abuse.
Dude,
that's what I call it.
That is dark. Yep. That is dark, dude. Oh my God.
It's crazy. I tell people stuff like my brother, after this abuse, when he was like a teenager, would go babysit these kids.
Oh man.
Because he knew they would be safe when he was there.
Wow. That is a mind. Oh my God. Hard to believe there are people like that in this world, man. Wow.
But like that's where it starts. Like I kind of got stuck right there when like, how do I help this? I loved her. I fell in love. I was married, like getting married. So like I kind of got stuck there in savior mode, and we got married very quick within like a year. And basically within a year of marriage, I knew she wasn't what she kind of fronted. Like she wasn't a partner. She wasn't trying to get a job. I was doing everything, paying the bills. I got her only job. Like she wasn't, so I wanted out. And that's when things started getting weird.
So I'm sorry, did you want out before you got married or after you got married?
It was after. I was still happy and going, and I still believe there were some fights, and I gave her a lot of leeway because of what she went through as a kid.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you just don't know how to act. Like you're not socially aware. Gave her way too much leeway. And then after like about a year of marriage, it was like, I want a divorce. I want it. And then like, that's when things started getting weird. She started acting different. Like she started getting like kinkier in the bedroom, like trying to keep me happy that way. Like how all, like, I guess women think they can keep a man happy, but it didn't work.
So it became clear that when you let her know you were unhappy and wanted to leave, she started to do things that it was clearly trying to keep you in the marriage.
Yeah, like to me, it was like, okay, you're just trying to keep me there. It's like I'm being used. Like, so this first year you were telling me what I wanted to hear. Now I know you're not. So you're like, what will make them happy? And it got weird. Like she was role playing things, and like it was just strange. I didn't like it, still wanted out. And just kept getting worse and worse. This is where it gets like difficult to talk about.
Yeah, take your time, whatever you got to do.
Like we would get in fights. I want out. Like I wanted out, and it started a nightly fight, and like she started to me some nights.
Okay.
Like, I confronted her first time, obviously. Like, I'm like, don't do this, stop this. But like, I wasn't sleeping. I wanted out. And she started, by like the morning, she had me convinced I wouldn't have slept if I didn't let her do this. And it was strange.
Yeah, it's not I mean, obviously, as you know, as everyone listening will know, it's usually the other way around, man
Yes.
a woman. But
yes, I've done a lot of therapy.
Yeah.
So I can talk about this stuff.
As some people might not know, this is a thing, and clearly you are one of the victims of it. When it was happening, were you like too confused and flustered to understand what was happening, or were you like, this is what's happening and I'm just freezing and trying to get through it?
I fought it at first.
Yeah.
And then I would just be like, I just want this done.
Yeah, okay.
Get this over. I knew it was wrong. But like, again, when I say I gave her a lot of leeway, I was just like, that's one of the things at that point. I'm like, this is wrong. Like, you can't do this shit. But then it escalated in the years. But at that point, it was maybe once a month we would have like a major argument and I wasn't asleep and she would do this shit. But it became nightly when like my son Monty was sick, like when I couldn't sleep at all and I was having like panic attacks and stuff.
So at what point does she get pregnant then?
It was 2016. So 2 years after, the story started 2014. I might have said that wrong.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, she got pregnant in 2016 and he was born in 2017.
Got it. Okay.
But that, again, that's where after the kinky shit she was throwing at me didn't work. I feel like she trapped me with a son. Oh,
so you think that she was specifically
like trying, like a 10-year con. She didn't want to go back to a house that was torture, and she didn't want to live a life, and I was giving her everything she wanted and doing nothing. So
the pregnancy, you think, was specifically her just trying to get pregnant, whether you wanted to or not. So
I didn't know this. No idea that's what was happening.
Right.
Like, this is all pretty much in hindsight. Like, I knew
Okay, yeah, right.
Yes, the child stuff. Like, now that I went back in text with like police investigations, saw stuff, found things, like I know she was manipulating me. And so that was the next thing. When that stuff didn't work, she got pregnant, and I wanted to help. Like, I'm gonna be there for every moment of my son's life. And so, like, let's give this a go. And he was born, and for about 5 months, I gave it a go, and then I wanted out again. And that's when he started to get sick.
Okay.
So, like, we had a few arguments, and then I remember it was like a Friday night, and she
It's okay, man. Take your time.
She called me into the bedroom, and I saw him like convulsing on the bed. He was about 5 months at the time.
Wow.
Like, it looked like a seizure. And I don't know what it was now, but that's what she was claiming. And we rushed him to the hospital. And then he had like another fit at the hospital. And they diagnosed it as probable like febrile seizures, they said, at the time. And she started claiming that there was a history in her family of like epilepsy. I don't know if it's true or not.
Okay.
So then they started putting him on meds for epilepsy to fight this.
Yeah, right.
But within like 2 weeks of being on meds, I was getting home from work, and he was like a little drunk baby. He would be like wobbling, falling over, flopping. So I bring him back into the hospital, and they're claiming that he's overdosing on his meds. And so we bring in our syringes. Blah, blah, blah. They realize it's marked wrong. Again, at this point, they're not getting red flags about her.
Yeah,
it's
right.
Just, what's going on? Let's make sure he's healthy.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we go back home, and this stuff just continues to happen.
The same stuff, or always something
new?
Now
it's the same. Right now, it's the same. It switches over time, but right now it's like seizures, and she's claiming lots of them are happening when I'm at work. Like, I'm not seeing. I saw maybe 2 attacks, but I don't know if it was what she's claiming. And it's happening over and over. And we get to like that magic number of bringing him into the hospital, and they're like, maybe something fishy's going on here. So I don't know what it's called in America, but we have CFS, Child Family Services.
I think it's CPS here. Yeah, Child Protective Services. So how long into this? How old is he now that this is happening?
Maybe one. It's been maybe 6 months of health issues, maybe one at the most.
Okay.
And at this point, they start asking questions, and I'm blunt, I'm honest, I'm straightforward. And like, I immediately told them about her family's history, like her dad, my brother, and all this stuff happened, and blah, blah, blah. Now the red flags are popping up.
Yes.
And, but there's no proof. They have no idea what they've done, any of this like stuff. But they put some people in the home. Like when I wake up for work, my mom had to come over, and then at like the time that CFS would start their shifts, they would come, my mom would go home, and then I would come home from work and the CFS people would leave.
Wow.
But like, my was never allowed around him alone for like a 2-year period.
Whoa.
They weren't sure what was happening. They didn't want anything to happen. It's like protection. I understood. Like, when they brought it to like the table, I was like, yeah, let's do this. I thought it would be solved within a few months. I thought they would figure out what was making him sick, a disease. So I'm like, yes, let's do this.
So but, if you don't mind me asking, what did you think? Did you have an intuition at that time about what was going on?
I started to watch her like a hawk. Like as soon as they start questioning and bringing up, like I started, and that made it worse in the house. Like she starts like attacking me for why you watching, why you following me.
Sure, yeah.
And then like she wouldn't let me out of the house because like if I go out to go golfing or go hang out with some guys, I would have to get a babysitter to come watch her with our kids.
Yeah.
Guilt trips there. So she started separating me from all my family, all my friends. And like that's where it ended up, where like I was kind of stuck with her. But at that point, like I was watching her like a hawk, didn't see anything.
Right.
Nothing. And the CFS people were in the house, and he just kept getting sick. We kept going in.
But so then he continued to get sick even when she wasn't alone with him.
Yes.
Oh. Yes. Okay.
But like that's where like I find out later on what she did.
Okay.
And how she did it.
Okay.
Yeah. So it starts to change after a while. Like this is where like the seizure stuff stops, and then he just starts to puke a lot. Starts like stick puking. I know now what she was doing at this point.
Right.
Then I didn't know what was happening. So we were bringing him all the time. And like we found out that it was she was feeding him like the raw juices from like chicken breast and like raw ground beef.
Oh my God, man.
Force feeding him this stuff. So like he would be puking, of course.
Yeah.
And like I remember pulling like strings of what looked like raw meat out of his nose and thinking it was like bacon. I thought it was like bacon he couldn't have digested.
Wow, dude.
I don't, like my mind was always trying to figure out what was going on.
Yeah, and you're no doctor. What do you know? Like you need to rely on doctors. And you also ostensibly, like anybody should in their mind, be able to trust their partner, the other parent of their child, to take care of them. Like it's just so not something that you would naturally think. Yeah.
Like you should be able to have a adult argument and they don't go abuse your child.
Yeah.
If they don't agree. Like not a normal human.
To say the least. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
But, so like he was getting sick a lot at that point. And again, like we were in the hospital. Up until he was 5, probably at least 400 days he was in hospital, like in and out.
Wow.
Tests, everything. Like they did scopes from above, scopes from below, all the tests you could think of, trying to figure out what was causing this stuff.
Are the doctors accusing her? Like, how does that work? Like, what is the protocol there?
That was like the doctor came out and asked us, like, has this happened? And of course, I'm like, no, like I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, of course. So then, what is your wife there? What does she say?
Yes, she's sitting right beside me. She never was vocal. Like that's the Okay, the strange, and there's one part I think I missed just now.
Okay.
Before the butt started bleeding, when I'm like watching her like a hawk, I got home from work one day. I don't know if you believe this or whatever, but like I could smell like an infection.
Okay.
Like, oh, my boy's sick. He's gonna get sick.
Okay.
And then the next day, he started getting a rash, and it was going all over him, all over. And like we put him down for his nap, and like 2 hours later, he woke up, changed his diaper, and his one butt cheek was black, just completely.
What the fuck? Okay.
Yes. So we bring him into the hospital like normal. They start checking him, but then they kick us out when I guess they get that little check mark like, oh, they're back. And they come in saying, oh, it has to be her. They start accusing her of putting him in a car seat for a week and leaving him there and it's bed sores. And I'm like, well, no, I'm at home every day. I get home from work. I'm playing with him. This happened within 3 hours.
Yeah.
They didn't believe me, sent us home.
Wow.
So then the next morning he wakes up and there's layers of skin missing. And it's like flesh-eating disease happening. So back to the hospital. And every time I bring him back in, it's making it worse for us. Like CFS thinking it more, like I'm more and more afraid that they're going to steal him from me.
You're right.
But like, I don't know what to do. How does what's happening? But after enough times of bringing him in, they gave him antibiotics and it stopped whatever it was. Okay. And then that's when his butt started bleeding. But the hospital was accusing her of stuff that I knew was so fake that it made me like double down, be like, no, she's not done any of this. Like, I know this isn't true.
So you fully thought your son was just getting sick, that your wife had nothing to do with it.
And they were sending him home and not giving him attention. And I remember like boardroom meetings where it's my ex, me, and like doctors, CFS, and I'm screaming at them like, I have more evidence that you've hurt my son than she has.
Oh my God.
I was fighting for her.
Wow.
Completely regret it.
Oh yeah. Now, yeah.
But like there was no evidence of any of it. And this was a disease. Like I watched it.
Yeah.
And then when the doctor who solved everything came into play, she found that the first doctor who was trying to treat him the day we brought him in had it diagnosed it as bullous impetigo. It's a skin flesh eating disease, and the hospital just ignored it and sent us home. So that's like something I'm very upset about.
Yeah.
Like angry at the hospital about that. They ignored it, blamed it on her, and that made me for 2 more years fight for her because like I knew the hospital had up.
Wow. Oh my God. Wow. Okay.
But that's like when the butt thing was happening and they came out saying the hanger stuff, I'm just like, you guys are up again. Like, what the hell are you guys talking about? Like, no, she hasn't done any of this. And so at that point, this is when the doctor that came in and solved everything shows up. I call her my Dr. House, like the guy from TV.
Yeah, the show. Yeah, House. Yeah.
Yes. I got a phone call from our CFS agent saying you have to bring Monty in to the hospital. There's a new doctor. She wants to solve this. It's been too long. Like, we need to figure this out. And like, you're not bringing him home with your wife there if it's not solved.
Wow, so, dude. Wow.
Yeah. So I'm sitting on the balcony and like, didn't know what to do. But like, I brought him in the next day and this new doctor was there. And it was the first time I instantly knew like she's going to solve this. Because like every other doctor, I'm talking 20, 25 doctors would come in, go check her file, see how fat it was, just be like, oh, it's this, people send us home.
Wow.
This doctor came into the room, was like, oh, let me go check the file. 4 hours later, she comes in and is like, well, I've seen a tiny bit of his file. Let us talk. So I'm like, okay, you're taking this serious.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You're going to do this.
Yeah.
But like, when she came in, that's when he stopped getting sick again. I guess she got scared, didn't want to get caught.
Wow.
So like he started getting better, and for about a month, I want to say, because the doctor, all she found in the file was that like they failed to do the bolus impetigo, like the hospital had up.
Right.
So like there's no proof of anything. So she diagnosed it as possibly behavioral issues, like everything.
Whoa. Okay.
Like maybe it's caused by all the stress in the house, the fact that we were being watched, all this. So they put him in my sister's house for a month.
Oh, wow.
While he got better. And like we had our visits, we went and saw him. He got better. And then he got allowed to come back home.
Yeah.
And they cut off CFS at that time. All that stuff. They were like, okay, it's behavioral. He's going to be good. He's healthy. So then we got him back, and that's probably, I want to say, when he was 3 at this point now.
All right.
About 3. Like, he was out of our house for about a month, but he was sick all those years, like 2.5 years.
Wow.
It's strange stuff.
That's such a long time. I mean, just the sickness alone, you must have been.
It was torture.
Yeah.
I've never slept. I was always like, why aren't people caring about this child? Like,
Yeah.
I would yell at the doctors, like, why are you sending us home?
Yeah.
It was just bad.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
But he comes back home. He's good. He's healthy for a while. And during these months and years, like, the ex and I were always like, let's get him healthy, like, figure out why he's sick, and then we're gonna separate.
Yeah, right.
Like, I felt terrible because, like, I blamed myself for ruining her whole family when my brother told me about that stuff, and I told, like, it was like a mess. So I couldn't send her back to that. I felt like I owed her to fight for her. Say savior mode. It's my biggest regret.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so that's tough though. It's understandable. Like you wanting to not be another person that lets her down or hurts her. I
didn't see it either. I just didn't ever have hurt him in my eyes.
Right.
Like, I'm pretty blunt, and my best friend and I would have long conversations, and I remember him asking, like seriously, could she be doing this?
Yeah.
And I told him, like, if she's doing this, you can come and cut my junk off.
Right. Yeah.
And then after everything was found out, I thanked them very much for not coming back and taking me up on that. But like, I was that dead set that she wasn't, because I knew they failed with that one disease, and I watched it. So, like, you're up everything else is how I felt. But he gets back in the house when he's like 3-ish. We're good for a little while. I want a divorce again.
Right. And then
again. And this time it's like, it's movie level puking. I'm talking 10 to 15 times, like, projectile. There'd be like giant bubbles. There'd be like granules on the floor and on the bed. Like, what is this? Is this like salt? Is he not diagnosed, like, how, like, digesting it properly? Like, I didn't understand any of it, but we would always bring him in. They would always send us home. And this happened for about 10 months.
Whoa.
So in the house, I had to deal with him puking from bedtime, 8 p.m. till about 2 a.m. every day.
How's this kid, like, living? Like, how the strength of his constitution? Like, what is going on? Like,
he was a champ. Like, even when the flesh-eating disease got so bad that it was like someone took a ice cream scoop and scooped a chunk out of his butt cheek.
What?
Like,
dude,
they had to putty it, and we had, like, home care come and dress it every day for months. Like, he almost passed at that point.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
But he was a champ. Like, he just played. He just didn't sit down. Like, whatever.
Wow.
Yeah, he's a champ. But he started puking every night. Like a routine. I remember the like stirring bucket that we would get ready, and the paper towels and the water, and every night it was every time we'd fall asleep within 10 minutes, gasping for air, couldn't breathe, and it would start with like knocks, like you could hear a knock in his chest. And it just got worse and worse. The second one of the night was more, the third was more, and then at the last final one of the night, 10, 15 of them a night, it was like projectile vomiting, bubbles, stuff everywhere, and then he would fall asleep.
Oh my God. And how is your wife acting throughout all of this as you're tending to him?
Helping me.
Yeah.
Like,
Jesus
she's
Christ.
giving the towels. He's like, grab some water, like, get this. We're running around trying to help him, and he's putting on that show.
Yeah,
like,
that's crazy. That's like maybe the craziest part, man. She knows she's doing it, but then she's acting like she's helping to save him when it's like the most bonkers shit. Strange.
I think about it all the time. I have like PTSD moments where I'll sit and I'm pretty sure you're a movie buff. Taxi Driver. The scene above where they're above after the Jodie Foster stuff happens.
Yeah.
And like I keep visualizing my apartment, trying to figure out how she did things. Like, where I would have been when this episode
Yeah.
happened. And I see it like that from above. It's strange.
That's
But
interesting. Yeah.
I know now how she was doing it, but that happened for 10 months, at least 10 months. We were always going in, always trying to figure out what was happening. And then it stops again for after 10 months when they start putting the CFS back in the house and they start like this has to be something. Let's figure this out again. And then she stops. She's scared. She's going to get caught. And then it's another 5 months or so of decent time. He's healthy. And let's get divorced again. I'm like, I'm not happy. Like, it's time. And this is right when he's about to turn 5. And we have the biggest fight we've ever had. The worst. I'm telling her I want out. And by this time, like, I don't know how to get away from her. Like, she's me 5 times a week when I'm sitting in the bathroom trying to hide from her because it's 4 a.m. and I'm trying to figure out how to help my son. And she's just like, she's trying to shut me up and just put me to sleep. I know now, like, she was falling asleep at 11 p.m. Like, it's usual suspects thing. Like, she knew what was happening. She wasn't questioning things. She could fall asleep.
Yeah.
Like, whoever's guilty falls asleep.
Yeah.
But yeah, she would wake up at 4 a.m. and hear me crying. And instead of being a human and trying to like talk about stuff, she would attack me basically.
What the fuck, dude? This person is like,
she's
next
evil.
level. Yeah.
But it happens for months. Oh, I got all messed up there. This is his 5th birthday after the months of stuff happening, and he's been good for a while. We have our major fight, and then he's about to turn 5. And like the next day, he gets gung-ho about, we need to get him his COVID shots.
She does. She gets gung-ho?
Yeah.
Okay.
And this is like May 2022. He's just turning 5. And I'm just like, sure, I guess so. Let's do it. Like, let's get him a shot. So when he turns 5, May 3rd, he gets his shot on, I believe, May 10th. It was like a week after he turned. And immediately he gets the sickest he's ever been.
Wow.
Ever. And he's just puking nonstop, like can't take anything in. He's losing weight. And then we bring him in and he's almost dying again. He's like very close to passing. And at that point, the doctor who solves it comes up with a plan. She doesn't tell us, but it's like,
I'm sorry to interrupt, but is this the same doctor that you were describing before?
Yes.
Okay.
Like, she came in at like his about 3 years old time, and she's the one that diagnoses his behavior, all this stuff. But like, she was duped just like I was.
Right.
That's one thing I comfort myself with, actually.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
she's a lot smarter than me. But at this point, she came up with a plan. But like, he was put in a room and taken off like anything. He was only being given water by IV. And his salt levels continued to just jump. And he would have these episodes like he was having at home. But they wouldn't happen when I was there. It would only happen after I left. Like, because at this point, he's in the hospital every day. I'm still working. I have to pay bills. So I would go to work, come back to the hospital. But it would be like 45 minutes after I left, he's getting sick. His salt levels jump. And then the doctor, after about a week, calls me in. And I didn't mention, the very first day I met this doctor when he was about 3, I literally told her. And she was shocked by it. I'm like, if you can give me any evidence that my wife is doing a thing, I will kick her out immediately.
Yeah, right, yeah.
She was like, whoa, like, I've never seen anybody say that. But I'd been through hell for 2 years already.
Sure, yeah.
So after this 2 weeks, when he turned 5, she calls me, says, I need you to come to the hospital after work. I come to the hospital, and like, the doctor comes up to me, and we're standing like 3 feet apart, and my wife at the time standing right beside me.
Wow.
And the doctor's just like, she's poisoning him. And I'm just like, what? Like, remember that first time you talked to me, you said, if I gave you any evidence that she was doing something, what you would do? So at that moment, I literally told my wife, I'm like, you have to leave our house, leave the hospital, get out of here.
Bro, your wife was standing there when she said it?
Yes, silent. Wasn't even fighting anything.
She
Like
didn't
it was like
say anything. She didn't even
nope,
defend herself. She said
nope,
nothing.
nothing. It was like she just assumed I would go back into defend her mode because I've been doing it for 5 years. Like
Right. Whoa, dude. This person's
not a thing.
absolutely crazy.
Yes. It was so weird. The doctor and I have talked about that conversation because of how weird it was with her
Yeah.
standing there. And we had like a 5-minute conversation with her standing there about like
Whoa.
what was she doing? How was she doing this? The doctor started asking questions then about like what happened in April, and I brought up the fight. And then she's like, what happened 6 months ago and stuff? And I'm like, oh, we were fighting. And then she started putting it like, yeah, I'm pretty sure she's doing stuff every time you get in a fight, like to keep you stuck. Like
She's saying this all right after she confronted her about it in the first place.
she had done so much investigating, questioning. Like she's like,
Dude.
she had her notes like right there, and she's just asking me stuff, and she's like, yeah, like, and she knew what it was at that point. She knew what she had been doing. She had solved it. Like what she was doing was using salt to poison him. Apparently, it doesn't take much salt to like make your brain expand.
Salt?
Yes, it's called salt toxicity poisoning. So she would use a syringe, fill it with water and salt, and she would be like shooting it in his nose and his stuff, and it would go down, and that would cause like the convulsions. And then she would just like get more and more as the night would go, apparently, until she would just shoot like half of it in at once and cause like the big final grand like episode of the night.
Bro. What the how is your son? What the? So at the end of all of this, by the time the doctor's like being specific and saying she knows what she's doing, how she's doing it, the mechanism, how she's covering for it, when she's starting up again, what is your wife just standing there stone cold silent?
Silent. Like I tell her like you have to leave now. You have to get shit and get out of the house. Like I don't want you there. I had to stay in the hospital with him. Like I wasn't gonna leave him, so I stopped working for a while. Got like a leave, stayed in the hospital for a week or so that she could get shit out of the house, take off, and then yeah. So then he got healthy in that week because as soon as she was gone, he got better.
And how? When do the police have to be involved right now? Right? What is going on that side?
This is when the police start getting involved. Like the doctor sends her report to the police. But then again, the story gets crazy, really weird some more. Because as soon as she leaves, she goes to her mom's. But she starts jumping into mental hospitals. So the cops can't get to her.
Oh my God.
Like they explained to me that like anything we would get from there, her lawyers would be able to like refute it, fight it more.
Whoa.
All this stuff. And she's like in a hospital for a week, out for a day, jumps into another one before they can get to her.
Oh my God.
And like it was explained to me like she was window shopping for whatever she wanted for a diagnosis. Like tell them I'm crazy. But at this point, like I've gone through my phone and I found like evidence. When I got home from the hospital with him, I searched every cupboard. I found boxes of salt hiding behind macaroni in a cupboard. Like, why would it be in this cupboard type shit? So I took pictures, sent it to the detectives. Like,
oh, smart.
Like I always, everything I got, I sent straight to the detectives, like everything. But yeah, she was jumping in and out of the hospital, window shopping for her diagnosis. They couldn't get to her. And that was like 3 months. So this happened in May. I think I was told May 24th, I want to say 2022. And she didn't get charged and arrested till like September of 2022.
And are you not seeing her at all throughout this period of time?
No, I'm done. Like, boom, I'm gone. Like, you're out of this house.
Is she reaching out to you or trying to or anything like that?
I had to see her like within that first week. I had to meet her at the bank to like to separate bank accounts and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very strange. It was like not the person I knew. Like immediately it was different.
What was she acting like?
She asked me like, so is my name off your life insurance? Yeah, well, it will be right away. Like, is that a threat?
Yeah,
like,
what a question.
It was very creepy. And like I explained to her there, like all I see now is your dad. Like when I called her dad to my apartment, when my brother told me stuff, like when he walked up, it wasn't the man I knew for 20 years.
Right.
He immediately, when he saw my brother sitting in the corner of my apartment slumped, he knew what was happening. And it was like, oh, this monster just showed up.
Wow.
And it was like the same thing with her. When I met her at the bank, I'm like, whoa, now I see who you really are. Like, it was
The mask is off,
crazy.
and everybody knows the mask is off, so they act differently because their face is exposed. That's
Yeah.
crazy interesting, man. Whoa.
But those 3 months she's in hospital, I'm not like, she's emailing me like crazy
Okay.
during this.
So she's
But every
trying to
time-
contact you, trying
Yes.
to, yeah, okay.
Everything she sends, I tell the police.
Right.
I tell the
right,
police.
right.
But she's in the hospital, and this is where CFS pisses me off and up, because they know charges are coming.
Mhm.
They know what happened. But 3 months of her being in the hospital, like, oh, she should probably have a visit.
What?
And
To her son?
yes, yeah. And I went livid. I went nuts. I'm like, no, like this can't happen. And I confront them, and they're using the doctor who solved its file from when she said it was behavioral. Like, they're using the wrong paperwork to
What?
send it through. And I'm like, well, first, she's in the mental hospital. That should cancel it right there.
Yeah, right,
This
right,
should be
yeah.
a visit. And I got so livid, I had the doctor phone them, I had the police phone them, and they still went through with it.
Whoa.
So she got a visit when she, like, a virtual visit,
Okay.
and like it set me off the roof. Like I just
So,
insane.
but she didn't get to physically be near your son,
No,
correct? Okay.
no,
Okay.
but like
No,
he had already had three.
I totally get it. I'm just clarifying, making sure.
Yeah, like he had 3 months of like therapists and people like training him. You're never gonna see your mom again. You're never gonna.
Right,
And then, boom,
yeah.
here's your mom, and he comes out going like, "Oh, I saw mommy." Like,
Right. Jesus. Whoa.
it was messed up, and that's what made me, when I was going to my therapist, kind of come up with a plan. And I was like, what do I do? Well, how do I get her arrested? And he's like, just try to be nice when she's emailing you. Like, just be nice. Say like, I don't want to fight. Like, let's deal with this. And I messaged the cops, and I'm like, is it okay if I email her some questions? And they said, sure. She's not going to answer them. Like, she won't. But if she does, give them to us.
Right.
And I'm like, yep,
right.
I will, for sure. And I wrote about 10 questions, like, what were you doing? Blah, blah, blah. And that's when we found out like about the chicken stuff. Like, she answered them and gave us all this shit. And like, I wasn't going to give it to the cops.
In writing, she answered you?
Oh, it was by email. By email. I sent her an email with questions, and she answered and was like, I was poisoning them in front of your mom. I would hide this in my bra. It was like syringe this and that. Like,
dude, this is like actually one of the craziest stories I've ever heard in my life.
I know, like, I tell certain people, and they don't believe me. Like,
it's unbelievable. Okay. It's truly unbelievable. And all of this is, it's like, without even saying, like, this is his mother, dude. His mother is doing this to him.
Yes.
It's fucking mind-boggling.
I agree. Yes, 100%. But I lost where we were.
No, the emails with the,
she's sending the emails. And as soon as she sent the email, I sent it to the cops. And then she started to confess. And like, the day that the CFS agent called to tell me I had to bring him in, I mentioned I was sitting on the balcony. I didn't know what to do. And like, I had no one at that time. She had separated me from anyone, basically. I didn't know who to talk to. And like, a name popped in my head, and it was my oldest sister's best friend. I don't know like why it popped in my mind. I guess I just had respect for this lady. I called her, and she like promised to help me through everything. And she's done it since then. But once she started confessing, because like at that point, I was still fighting for her to, like, I thought she was innocent.
Yeah.
So she
yeah.
Both of us. So at that point, I told my ex, who's in a mental hospital, admitting all this, like, talk to her, help her get you to the police. And she left the hospital, met with this woman, Leslie Blair, the greatest friend I'll ever have. They met, she brought her to the police station, and immediately she was arrested and charged. And that cut off any future visits, because like, no contact in place immediately. And that's why I wanted to do that. Like, I needed that to stop.
Yeah.
But so in September, I believe, she ended up getting charged with like negligent care of a child. There's 3 major charges. And it like facing up to like 20 years or something.
Wow.
But and that was September 2022, and it's still happening. She hasn't had sentencing yet. we just finished giving our victim statements, but for like 2 years it's been like court. It's like a Dateline interviews.
Yeah.
Like, what happened? And then like therapy, hindsight of like, oh, she was doing this, and I should have seen that. Like the text going through that for the police and stuff. Like there was stuff where I literally said like, it looks like salt on the bed, like this grand. And then her text back was like, don't say salt, say sand. I'm like, the cops are like, oh well, who would know you could poison someone with salt and try to avoid saying salt? Make sure you say sand.
Whoa.
And then like just manipulative text, and it was not just that. Like it was about every part of our life. Like it opened my eyes up. And then yeah, just too much evidence, I guess. I can't even explain it all.
So the trial then is over.
She admitted to everything. Like there wasn't much.
Was there? Yeah, I guess that's the question. What was it?
A lot of pre-trial stuff. Like,
right?
Is she crazy? Is she going to go to a mental hospital? Is she not crazy? This and that, and it ended up where like a lot of a plea deal. Like she was also like after about a year. I guess I missed the part when I went in for my interview with the police. Like I told them everything. I was straightforward, like everything I knew, including the fact that she was being me. Like I wasn't gonna hide that.
Yeah, right.
I said it right then and there. Like I knew she was hurting me. I didn't see anything that she was doing with
sure.
it.
Yeah.
But after about a year, I called them back, the cops. I'm like, why isn't she charged for what to me?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, we didn't realize you wanted her to be charged. So then they charged her for raping me as well.
Wow.
So they used that in the plea deal. Like, we will drop these if you agree to this.
Oh, wow.
So like a few charges were dropped, and they said they're looking for like a plea deal of 7 to 8 years, I believe.
These people aren't going to jail for long enough, man.
Nope. They should just be locked up. Like the whole, like, again, so much stuff has come out since. Like I found out that the guy who my brother, his dad was a church pastor for the Salvation Army, and he was doing stuff in churches, and that's why they covered up the stuff with his son and sent him to another church, and like just rough shit, like just disgusting stuff that like humans shouldn't do. Like it's terrible. And then on top of that, just an extra part, like the 4 years when he was sick, I didn't care about myself. So a month after, we followed the police's like go move, change schools, change this, all their little tips. And we take off, we move somewhere, and I start to be like, I'm in pain. Like, and for about 4 years, I had been in pain. So I went to the hospital, and it turned out I had a broken neck.
Oh, what?
I played baseball my whole life, but I was dropping things for about 4 years. Oh, that's weird. Like, I'm getting old. I'm losing reflexes, but numb elbow, sore shoulder. And then I ended up sleeping on the floor when we moved, right by my boy, because, like, I'm dad mode now. Like, no one's ever hurt him. I'm going to sleep right here.
Yeah.
So for a while, I slept on the floor, and my shoulder was getting worse. So I went to the hospital, and they said my C6 and 7 were out, pushing my shoulder blade and causing all these problems. And like it turned out, when I was playing hockey, I took a hit, and like that's when the numbness happened. I guess I broke it then. I had no idea. So then I ended up in the hospital, had to get my C6 and 7 out, put in like right after all of this, within like 2 months.
Bro, you broke your neck and didn't even realize it because you were so concerned about your son.
I would have thought like a separated shoulder at worst.
Right.
Like, I wouldn't have thought it was neck related. Like people hear that and they're like, "Oh my gosh!" And it's crazy. Yeah. It is, sure, but like I wasn't.
Yeah.
I wasn't in that kind of pain until I started sleeping on the floor, and then I was in pain.
That's wild.
Yeah. So I was in the hospital for a while, but like within 4 days out of the surgery, I was running 10Ks. Like it wasn't as I told the detectives, it's easier to recover from a broken neck than a crazy ex-wife. That's what I explained to them.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds about right. It's a good joke too. That was a genuine laugh. That's hilarious, dude. This is like So I know you don't speak to her anymore, but
no.
Or maybe she did speak about it. in the courtroom to somebody. What in her mind was she doing?
She's playing the I'm crazy card. She wants to be,
Oh,
but like now that I know everything, there's just a history of abuse. There's so much proof that she knew what she was doing. She was doing it
yeah,
on purpose. It was only when we were fighting, it was to keep me like stuck in a marriage that I didn't want to be in, like
yeah.
paying her bills, being like her savior.
But dude, like, do something else to keep you there. Like, don't do that.
And that's what I seriously, I gave her so much leeway. Like I tried to help her so much. Like I said, I got her a job. I like tried to help her advance into like, oh, you're socially awkward here. Let me help you. Like,
Yeah.
let's help with that. And then by the end, like I wanted out. So, and I'm not gonna say I was nice to her. Like I was telling her, I think you need respite. Like you're terrible. Like I was being rude so that hopefully she would leave me.
Been there.
Like leave me. I can't get out.
Yeah.
Like yeah, it was terrible.
Wow, dude.
Lost track of where I was going with that one.
No, I mean, it's hard. I keep trying to think, like, I wonder, because it's interesting. When someone's doing something like that, unless they really are crazy, which in your wife's case, ex-wife's case, I don't think she was, but what do I know?
I think there's some crazy, like she was abused her whole life. Like
There's
some
deep,
kind of
deep trauma, and her brain is obviously
I'm not
fucked up.
giving her any leeway.
Right. Yeah.
I want her locked up forever.
Yeah.
But like, she knew what she was doing. She's not crazy. Like, what's happening?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
she knew what she was doing.
It also takes some kind of planning and understanding, clearly a working brain. Yeah.
And all, like, yes, like tons of stuff.
And it makes you wonder, like, in the moment, what could possibly be the justification for it in her own mind? She knows what's making this boy sick. She's seeing it. She's seeing the anguish and terrible pain he's in. And she's not thinking like, oh, you know what? This isn't worth it. I should stop. I'll find another man or something like that. She just keeps going for years. It
I've done a lot of therapy
brain
about that shit. Like, if I treated her nice, would she not have poisoned him? If I like a lot of self-blaming, like how didn't I see stuff? Like I blamed myself about a lot of it. Like,
but dude, it's so extreme. How could you possibly think
anymore?
Right. Yeah.
Well trained by this therapy to like fight those thoughts. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? She's crazy. Like nobody should do this kind of stuff. Like,
yeah,
I can fight those thoughts, but like they go there.
Yeah,
can't fight them.
Yeah, I get that, and it makes sense. I just want to be clear that, as an objective observer, I don't really see how or why, especially at the outset and the beginnings, as everything's going on, everybody's trying to get their mind around it, why you would think, oh, it's my partner. Because again, it's not just some random person in the house that might be suspicious. It's your co-parent. It's also your co-parent, though. Again, it's like this person who loves the child as much as you do, ideally.
And like the way my therapist talks about it is like, I was in like a one-person cult. Like she ended up controlling me. Like she separated, like I said, from family, friends. Like I don't talk about it much, but like I'm pretty sure my sisters thought I was doing stuff. Like I know for a fact that one of them called CFS at one point and thought we were doing stuff, but like at that point they thought it was both of us.
Right.
So like it ruined relationships that I'm working on and stuff. But like I'm actually, there's one thing I'm very thankful for. You hit rock bottom, you see who the true people around you are.
Yeah.
So like the 3 or 4 people that didn't change, that was always there for me, like they mean the world to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure.
Like a lot of other people dropped off. As soon as CFS gets involved, they're like, well, we don't want to be associated with the parents where CFS is around. Like you guys are abusive parents. And for me, like I wasn't. I had no idea.
So unfair, yeah, to assume it's both of you. Yeah.
Fucking everybody dropped off. Like,
wow.
Left with very few people.
Wow. That's astonishing, actually. How up is that? And how, I mean, obviously I have to ask this question before we stop, is how is your son doing?
He hasn't been sick since, like, he likes to bug his Uncle Andrew. he's puked once in
Right.
2 years or 2.5 years, and it's Uncle Andrew's fault
Yeah.
because he made him finish a burger when he said he was full.
It was Uncle
Like,
Andrew's fault, dude.
it was.
Yeah.
It's fucking Uncle Andrew.
Wow, that's amazing, dude. I mean, that is amazing how clearly just like what he's been through just physically that he's
He-
doing so well now.
He's 100% perfect. He's just upstairs being a goof. I can hear him.
That's amazing. Well, good for
Yeah.
him. Good for you. I mean, that is the fact that you're here and you're talking about it. I mean, I think you made a joke about it earlier. Like, you're gonna be on Dateline at some point. You know that, right?
Yeah. It felt like my life's been a Dateline, is what I keep saying. There's one in Canada called Crime Watch. It's not
Dude,
as
you're gonna be
as
on
fun.
Crime Watch for sure. There's
But,
no doubt.
Possibly, yes, I guess.
Well,
But
I beat
it's a
Crime
great
Watch to
story.
it. I'm proud of it. Well, shit, man, that is truly. I don't think it's gonna be possible for any story to top this one. I'm gonna say that right now. I know this is something like episode 40, but like this is just. I don't see how something could be crazier than
I
this.
feel like I've forgotten stuff. Like,
Yeah.
you asked if she followed us. There was a little bit of stalking. Like when she got arrested and charged, we went to a park, and when we left the park, we saw her at the end of the park, and it was like out of a movie type shit. So immediately I headed the other way and called the detective. Like, what the hell? And then
Whoa.
after that, didn't see her, and Monty and I went to Montgomery. Is his full name? I like saying that.
That's a sick name. I like that.
It's after Montgomery Clift.
Hell
Like,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
we ended up going to McDonald's after that, and then that night I got an email from her with like McDonald's coupons. So it's like she must have been following even after that shit.
Whoa.
Psycho shit. Like I was at a drugstore with my dad, and I turned a corner. Oh, she's in that drugstore.
Were you ever scared of her? Like you ever scared of her?
100%. Like
Yeah.
I know I like physically could probably defend myself.
Of course.
Like,
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
was smaller, all this stuff, but like mentally she with me, and just the whole shit that happened with her family. Her brothers hated me, like
Yeah.
the oldest brother,
Right.
and I,
Right.
because like I sent their dad to jail, and I broke up the whole family, and so like I was always worried like one day I would open my door and there's her brother just waiting for me or something. So like I always keep stuff by the doors, and
Wow.
like it's PTSD type shit. Like I wasn't working for about a year because of it, and another year because of the neck stuff. I'm just getting back 3 days a week trying to get healthy. Like the whole shit was nuts. And then once we decided to start going to a church again, we start going to church. Her brother starts showing up to that church. Like it's just crazy stuff. So then I have to like threaten like protection orders to get him to leave this church because he's followed us there. It's just
What a family. What a family.
Yeah.
And what's up is like, as you alluded to earlier, it's like it all starts with the abuse from the father, and as you pointed out, from his father. It's just like a cycle of madness and abuse and coping and just up.
cover-ups. Like I found out that my ex, like that house she grew up in, was just abuse, and they weren't allowed to talk about it.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Totally crazy, man. Well, I'm happy you're doing well. I'm so happy your son is doing well. Thank you for telling the story. I know it's the first time you told it in full, and I appreciate that.
I'm just one thing. If my son saw you, he would give you a bing bong. He loves hearing you say bing bong.
All right. Well, tell him I said bing bong back to him. And yeah, give Montgomery a big hug. Tell him I say hi.
I will, for sure. I will.
All right, Edward.
Nice meeting you.
Take care, man. Likewise.